Justin Baldoni has drugged Dwight from the office into his lawsuit battle with Blake Lively. Dwight Shrute, a.k.a. Rainn Wilson, is a member of the Baha'i religion, as is Justin Baldoni. Well, Justin thought it was appropriate to set up a group message with some of his religious friends and tell the complaints that Blake Lively was having on the set of It Ends With Us. In November of 2023, Blake Lively's legal team reached out to Justin Baldoni and Wayfair and let them know that she felt uncomfortable on the set of It Ends With Us. She was accusing Justin Baldoni and others of sexual harassment while at work, and she wanted to move forward safely, so they came up with a 17-point plan of things they could change and alter on the set in order for Blake to feel more comfortable. Blake's team sends the email in November, and on December 28th, she emails Baldoni and suggests a meeting date of January 4th, which did take place. 2 days before this meeting, on January 2nd, Justin Baldoni decides to make a group thread with some of his religious friends, including Dwight Shrute, and he messages them all about Blake Lively's complaint. He sends a message telling them that he's flying back from New Jersey, and he says, "I haven't seen Blake in person since this safety letter / accusation." Now, he doesn't go into any details on this, which would lead me to think that there was actually another group thread where he had already talked about this. Otherwise, he would have explained it. And then he says, feeling all sorts of things. She used the claim / letter to gain power over the whole production. Now, I don't know how this is true because they hadn't filmed since June, but yet he's alleging this in January. We also know, based on Justin's timeline and both of their lawsuits, that Blake had gone to them with her concerns early in the year about feeling uncomfortable on set. Justin goes on to say, "Trying to find my balance of captaining a ship and leading it while it's being held hostage. How to give her most of what she wants while maintaining some of my own vision. And starting Friday, acting and working with this person who can and will use anything she can against me. It's all scary, yet I know I have protection." And then he adds at the bottom here, says, "Starting this thread again, as I will need the emotional, spiritual support. Love you all." Again, it's interesting to note, however, that when he gave his discovery to Blake Lively, this is the only thread we have. We don't have a previous thread where he's talking about Blake. And we get a response from all the men, including Dwight at the top. Rainn Wilson says, "Such a challenging issue, so difficult. I can't even imagine. Sending prayers, buddy. Just keep your focus on the service you are providing in the telling of this very important story." He then messages them on the very day he's going over to meet with Blake, and he says, "Jamie and I are heading over to Blake's now with other producers for the big meeting. First time we have seen each other in person since her safety allegations. Would appreciate any prayers for protection and strength, calm." And again, we got Dwight responding saying, "Sitting now for some prayers." But once again, no details given about this meeting or what exactly the claims were, so we know that he's already told them everything in previous messages, but where are those messages? I've been following this lawyer online lately. Her name is Mary Jane. She goes by More with MJ. She's on all platforms, but this one in particular is on Threads. She's very active on there. She talked about this situation this morning as well, and I found her thread interesting where she is a lawyer. This is what she does for a living. So she says this man isn't caught off guard. In her previous post, she had talked about what I just shared, that he knew this was coming. This was not him being caught off guard by a meeting or these allegations. And she says this is a man preparing a narrative. He knew she had submitted a complaint and a letter. He feared how it might affect the production. And instead of respecting the process, he created a prayer circle full of powerful men and insinuated and stated, "She's using this to control us." So no, these messages do not support his narrative or make him look innocent. They make him look like someone who knew the meeting was coming, privately weaponized it, publicly denied knowledge of it, and failed to turn over key evidence. The reason they were on the docket is an argument about what his team failed to produce. These were produced by someone who received the text and one by Wayfair, not by Justin. So as I said, there's no context in this message at all. So we know that Justin had already spoken to these people about the situation. And it's extremely odd that he didn't include this in any of his discovery. Blake has had to file a motion to compel because they're basically giving her nothing. MJ goes on to talk about a strategy that a lot of abusers unfortunately use. It's been nicknamed DARVO. It stands for deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. It's what powerful people do when they're accused of harm. Instead of accountability, they deny it happened, attack the person who came forward, and position themselves as the real victim. You really do have to stop and ask yourself, what's this narrative all about? Why would Wayfair be okay handing over this but not other items? And I think it's fairly clear. He's setting up a narrative here that it's poor me, look what Blake did just before he goes to that meeting. Another huge problem with this is Justin Baldoni was Blake's boss. He owned the company, he owned the rights to the movie, he was the director, he was the main lead actor. And he took her confidential complaints and started a prayer group with a bunch of men and told them everything that was going on with Blake. It's also interesting to note that Justin could take time to set up this prayer group telling them about Blake's complaints, but yet he failed to tell his insurance provider about any of this, and now he's being sued by one of them. The other thing that should have happened is that Blake's claims should have been taken extremely seriously and should have been brought to HR. But we now know through emails that have been redacted and put on the court docket that it appears they didn't even have an HR department at that point. Nobody quite knew who was going to be doing HR and what was going on. So back to Dwight. Justin Baldoni has now drug him into this situation, but we don't really know how much Dwight knows. Maybe he's one of the 107 people that Blake Lively has now subpoenaed.